Now, we'll be doing a second chapter of business and technology, that is stakeholders. So let us start with the stakeholders now. Now, who is a stakeholder? An entity then can affect or can be affected by an organization. An entity, even a person, can affect or can be affected by an organization. Okay, so those who will stakeholders would include, entities with a commercial relationship to the organization, including customers, shareholders, suppliers, and employees. Entities interested in organization activities, including regulators, local residents, special interest groups. Then there will be a silent shareholders as well, mm, that may not have a voice, including the environment and society, and even the future generation can be a stakeholder, because if you will utilize everything, then what will be left for them? So they will be get affected they can be also affected by the organization activities. Okay. So next is uh, a concept of agency. Agency relationship is between a principal and an agent, right? A principal, who is a principal? The owner. The owner is the principal, right? Principal is the one who empowers or give the authority to another person, another individual, I would say. So principal to give the authority to other person, individual person, to work on his behalf, to do the contracts on his behalf, and earns the profit for the owner, the principal. So that other person who gets the authority to act on the behalf of a person is known as agent. So agent is someone who is given the authority to act on behalf of a principal. Okay, so principal provide the agent within a power to act on their behalf. Agent have a fiduciary duty. You are duty by law to act in good faith and to protect the interest of the principals. Right? Some examples of an agency relationship ships are owners and directors. Owners are the principal, appoint directors, agents to run the company on their behalf. The directors must act in good faith and protect the owner's interest. The owners authorize the directors to control the company and make any necessary decision regarding its operations. Then we have shareholders and auditors. Shareholders, principals appoint the auditors, agents to who report to them on the financial statement produced by the directors. Auditors are accountable to the shareholders for their work. In practice, the directors may appoint the auditors, but the shareholders will approve the appointment at the following annual general meeting. Okay. Directors and employees is another example. Directors are the principals. Employees, managers, and members of staff, agents to carry out the company's day-to-day operations. Okay. So far, so good. I hope the concepts are clear to you. Then we have various type of stakeholders, that is internal, connected, and external stakeholders. Internal stakeholders in a company are employed by a company and perform most of its activities. For example, directors, managers, and employees. Then we have connected stakeholders. Connected stakeholders in a company are individuals or organizations that have a contractual relationship with the company. They may have invested in the company or have direct dealings with it. Connected stakeholders include shareholders, lenders, customers, and suppliers. Then we have external stakeholders. Okay, external stakeholders. are individuals, groups, or organizations that are not directly involved in the company and its activities, but may be interested in what the company does. External stakeholders include the government, local communities, environmental pressure groups, and the general public. So far, so good. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. So, a company's directors and senior managers may have difficulty keeping all stakeholders satisfied, as some stakeholders' interests may conflict with other interests. The problems can be severe when the company's business is going through a challenging period. For example, when a company, how there can be a conflict between stakeholders. For example, customer wants a good quality product, whereas shareholder wants more profits, more returns. Employees want bonuses, managers want promotions and the bonuses. So there can be conflicts between all. So, for example, a company who borrows more money from a bank, the shareholders will want it to do so as cheaply as possible, that profits, and therefore their dividends are maximized. On the other end, the bank will want a charge, a rate of interest that gives it a fair return for the risk it is taking in lending the money. So now the power and influence. The power, the ability to control another entity's actions, the influence, the ability to affect another entity's thinking, decisions, and actions, right? Uh, so stakeholders have a certain levels of power and influence on a company. For example, directors hold a high power and influence on a company operations, whereas shareholders generally do not. However, shareholders can remove and appoint directors, and certain investors or investment groups have significant influence over directors. So remember a key point over here. Power may be challenging to exercise, especially if collective action is required. For example, shareholders have the power to remove and appoint directors. However, it may be challenging to coordinate sufficient votes to do so. Okay. Now, how to exercise the power and influence? The management of a company must consider two aspects of how their stakeholders might impact their decision, the possible actions the stakeholder might take in response to decision or the action, what impact this action might have on the organization. For example, uh, customers may buy less of a company products if prices are raised. This decision may hurt the company's profits. A company may need to estimate the probability of the stakeholders' response and quantify its impact. So far, so good. I hope it is clear till here. So as I'm saying, company may need to estimate the probability of a stakeholder's response and quantify its impact. For example, internal stakeholders, junior managers, what they might do, they might resign, lose motivation, be reluctant to do what their managers want. Effect on the organization will be there will be a loss of staff, there will be a loss of efficiency or loss of control. Uh, as far as workers are concerned, they what they might do, they take strike action, they might resign, they might go slow at work, they resist change. What effects it can bring on the organization? Strike action could result in loss output and sales. There can be a loss of staff. There can be other actions would reduce efficiency of the organization. As far as the connected stakeholders are concerned, uh, what they might do, they use their voting powers. For example, the vote power to dismiss directors, refuse to provide additional funding when the company needs more money. What effects it can have? Director's job, they at risk. The board of directors may not get the extra money it needs. The lenders, the legal action if the company falls behind with the payments, refuse to lend more money when the company needs. If the company is in financial difficulty, Lenders can have considerable powers. The future of the business may be at risk. Customers, for example, they might stop buying the company's goods or services. What effect it will have? Loss of sales and loss of profit. The suppliers, they may refuse to supply the company with any more goods or services, demand immediate payment on delivery, raise their prices. What effects it can have on the organization? Uh, Actions by important suppliers could disrupt the business through loss of supplies, adverse consequences for cash flows and profit. Then, as far as external stakeholders are concerned, government, what they might do, make new laws, raise taxes. Okay, what effect on the organization it can have? Increased cost of compliance with laws, less retained profit for investment, restrictions may reduce effectiveness, competitiveness. The pressure groups, what they might do, attract publicity in the public, for example, by demonstrating, raising the awareness of other stakeholders such as customers or suppliers. What effect they can have may lead to management deciding to change business practices, loss of revenue and profit. If customers stop buying the goods or services, business disruption caused by lack of supplies. So then we have Manlow, power interest matrix. Management has limited time and resources and cannot completely satisfy the interest of all stakeholders to support management in prioritizing which stakeholders it should respond to. Manlow proposing using a power interest matrix. The amount of effort management takes to satisfy the needs of stakeholders depends on the stakeholders' power, interest relative to other stakeholders. The Manlow power interest matrix is level of interest, power. So now see, if there is low power, low interest, minimum effort is required. If there is minimum power but interest is high, keep them informed. Otherwise, they can do the lobbying and create the problem for the organization. If they have high power but low interest, they are like a sleeping lion. So do not uh, disturb them. Just keep them satisfied. And then there is a high power, high interest. You have to give maximum resources to them, right? So this is it. We are done with the second lesson as well. I hope it is clear to you.